Listening pleasure, it's Glenn Miller's Sunset Serenade. The National Broadcasting Company invites you to listen to 60 minutes of Glenn Miller's music. And here now is the head man himself, Glenn Miller.
Thank you, Don. Hello, everybody. We're all set and ready with a full hour of music designed for your listening pleasure and coming from the Steel Pier in Atlantic City. Later on, we're going to show you folks listening at home how you...
No NBC. This is KGU in Honolulu, Hawaii. I am speaking from the roof of the Advertiser Publishing Company building. We have witnessed this morning the distant view, the air bombing of Pearl Harbor by enemy planes, undoubtedly Japanese. The city of Honolulu has also been attacked and considerable damage done. This battle has been going on for nearly 3 hours. One of the bombs dropped within 50 feet of KGU Tower. It is no joke, it is a real war.
In 1941, news from Europe dominated American attention, and most people expected war. And when it came, they expected it would come from the Atlantic. Instead, war fell in the Pacific. Taking advantage of Vichy France's inability to protect its far-flung colonies, Japanese forces occupied French Indochina. In response, FDR, in company with Britain and the exiled government of the Netherlands, froze all Japanese assets and placed an embargo on the export of oil to Japan to remain in place until Japan ended its war in China, withdrew from occupied territory, and left the Axis alliance. Japan now hung on the horns of mutually unacceptable options. To concede was politically, socially, and culturally impossible. To refuse directly threatened the survival of the nation, as without significant oil deposits of its own, Japan's petroleum reserves could only last a year, after which both its military and economy would grind to a halt. The solution was bold, ambitious, and risky: a series of invasions across the Southwest Pacific from the American territory of the Philippines, down through the Dutch East Indies, and west into British Malaya. An air, land, and sea campaign that exceeded in distance even the staggering scale of Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union. Occupying these territories would give Japan control over rich sources of oil, minerals, and rubber. It would also mean war with the Allies and the United States. The Dutch and the British were in no position to seriously oppose Japan's plans, but the United States was. Accordingly, the Japanese government ordered the Navy to open hostilities with a surprise attack on the American Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor. The Japanese calculated correctly that the U.S. would never suspect such an audacious and risky move. The Japanese calculated, incorrectly, that between the shock of losing their fleet and the sobering prospect of a long and costly struggle far from home, the American people, whom they saw as decadent, spoiled, and spiritually weak, would have no stomach for war, and the United States would agree to a negotiated peace rather than fight. At 7:48 a.m. on a beautiful Sunday morning, December 7th, 1941, the first of 353 Japanese warplanes, launched in 2 waves from 6 aircraft carriers, descended upon a completely unsuspecting Pearl Harbor. 2 hours later, 19 ships were sunk or damaged, 188 aircraft destroyed, and 2,403 Americans were dead. The Japanese lost only 29 aircraft in action, along with 5 mini-submarines, for a cost of 64 killed and 1 captured. On December 8th, President Roosevelt asked Congress for an official declaration of war upon Japan. The measure passed with but 1 dissenting vote. 3 days later, Germany and Italy honored their treaty of mutual self-defense and declared war on the United States.